Hey there, you. Yes, I mean you. Have you just finished watching an episode of your favorite television program, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? Are you looking for a podcast to enhance your viewing experience? Well, look no further. Welcome to Perfectly Marvelous. Join our hosts Erica, Kara, and Jade as they provide you with hours of witty banter, behind-the-scenes fun facts, and oh, so much more. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for a perfectly marvelous time. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Jade.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Erica.
And this is Perfectly Marvelous, a podcast dedicated to the magnificent, the magical, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Oh, goodness. We are so excited to be back. Yay. I missed you guys. How are you doing?
I know.
Oh,
it's been too long.
It's been too long. I know. Yeah, the last time when we spoke to Austin Basis, we had such a blast. And listeners, if you guys haven't checked out that interview, seriously, you got to do it. So much good behind the scenes stories. It's like he transported us to the set. You know, he's such a good storyteller, and he was just so generous with his time. I just could not have asked for anything more. Austin, we love you. We love you, man, so much. It was great. And yeah, for those of you wondering sorry, Kara, did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I want to know if his nephew won his baseball game.
Oh my God.
I was invested.
Oh, I know. Yes.
I'll have to ask him.
So for those of you guys wondering where the heck our Matilda Szydagis interview is, we assure you it is coming. We had a bunch of crazy stuff happen. Like, we intended to record this listener feedback episode way sooner, but you know, stuff got in the way. There was like a bug going around the whole world. Everyone was getting sick, and then we had some work stuff, and Matilda was out of town, and so everything kind of wasn't working out with our schedules. But we have, you know, spoken with her, and we're definitely going to be getting that interview done the first week of July. So that should be coming out really soon. And there's still plenty of time to email us with any questions that you guys have for her. So if you want us to ask her anything, let us know. But for today, guess what time it is? It's listener feedback time. Woo! And I, you know, I'm so sorry, you guys, like, we haven't done this sooner. Like, we know it's highly possible that like no one will listen to this, but we just wanted to come back, you know, have some FaceTime with y'all and just thank our listeners, you know, face to face. We are doing this as a video episode as well. So, but okay, before we get into all of that, like we got some stuff to tell you guys. So we got to bring you some announcements.
That's right. Now they can see my tits up cup.
Woo! Yes.
It's on Etsy if you want one.
Link in the description.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll send that along. It's so fun.
Yes, we have some exciting changes at Perfectly Marvelous. We have launched 2 new Facebook groups, one for the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and one for Only Murders in the Building.
And we'd love for you guys to join us over on Facebook in both of those groups. We'll be putting up listener feedback posts there every single week for our Mrs. Maisel rewatch and for Only Murders in the Building, which is starting really soon. So August 8th is when the new season premieres, which is fantastic. And we really encourage you guys to post anything that you find for Maisel updates, like pictures, videos, memes, whatever you got, because I know we already missed the show, so I'm sure you guys do too.
I know. That's why I'm so glad we're doing this now, because I thought it was going to be like a bummer having this much time in between episodes, in between listener feedback episodes, but I think it's kind of good because it gives people a little bit of a break, you know, and then when we can pop back into your feed, it's like a little surprise that you didn't know you were going to get. Like, oh, they're back.
Hey, we're still here.
Yeah, got a little something for you. So yeah, and like I said, we're doing something super cool. So starting with this episode, we've started a Patreon page. And so now we plan on releasing our listener feedback episodes separately. We're going to do listener feedback as a whole separate episode from now on, because since that happy accident that happened where we had to do it for the finale, I've actually found that it does make the editing process a little bit easier, and it makes the podcast a little more digestible for those, crazy motherfuckers who don't love to listen to us for 3 to 4 hours at a stretch.
Who are those people?
Whatever, yeah. So we're going to do listener feedback episodes separately, and we're going to do them as we're also going to record the video for our listener feedback, because I just love to, the idea of like showing you guys the joy and delight on our actual faces when we read listener feedback, just so you can see. If you don't get it like through my voice enough, like I really love listener fucking feedback. It's like crack to me.
It's true.
Listener feedback crack. So, I should start calling it that now. Jade's drug. Yes, I need my fix. So for the very low price of merely $5 hairs a month, you can listen to us ad-free, and you can watch the listener feedback episodes, and you can just see the joy that you're bringing us on our little faces every time you write in. So yes, all of our podcasts from now on will be available on Patreon ad-free. Right now, we only have, unfortunately, I haven't got all the episodes saved on my computer, but I was able to put up episodes 8, 9, and the finale feedback episode, as well as our interview with Austin Basis. So all of those episodes are available ad-free on Patreon. Only $5, guys. How can you beat that? And you get a video. It's let us know. Let us know if $5 is too much. I'm worried that it might be too much for some people, but all I can do is judge it off of the amount of time we put into our broadcasts, which is broadcasts, but our recordings, whatever, which is we put a lot of time and love into this. And, my editing time is extensive. It's a lot. So
especially when we have a lot of white noise coming from our
someone's
house.
audio. Yeah, Kara lives in a very noisy area, we've learned.
Oh, gosh. But I will say, my chai latte yesterday was like $6.45.
Right?
So,
true.
My
green juice, budget is God, like how much I spend on just fucking green juice every day.
Yeah.
Inflation.
So instead of your green juice, maybe one day, maybe go without your green juice or your latte and throw the $5 to Perfectly Marvelous. If you can swing it, we really appreciate it. And like I said, if it's too much for you guys, if you need us to lower the price, just let us know. And the link for all of that is in the show notes. So check it out. And if you can become a patron of Perfectly Marvelous, we would super appreciate it. So please and thank you. And now, without further ado, let's start the show, bitches. Tits up.
Tits up.
Now I've this perfectly marvelous girl in my perfectly beautiful room, and we're living together and having a marvelous time.
Oh, Sally, I'm afraid it wouldn't work.
So before we start, we have a couple of fun news things that I want to share. Of course, Kevin Pollak's amazing podcast has come out right after we started we recorded our last episode. His podcast came out, which is perfect timing, right? Like right as you're losing Perfectly Marvelous, you're getting some Kevin Pollak. There's always more podcasting, room to go around. So we love that he's doing these awesome interviews, which have been spectacular.
That first one with Luke Kirby just made me fall in love with Luke Kirby even more.
Oh my God, that man.
So.
And the second one with Michael Zeke, and it was so good.
Yes,
it was so good.
He was so great. He went really in depth on behind the scenes stuff. I love how he just like Austin, the way that he tells a story and the way that he recounts things that happened. He's got a really clear, vivid,
so enthusiastic
memory
about it. You can tell how much they loved their time on that show.
They loved each other
came through.
Yeah, and I know. It just enhances my joy for the show even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to link his podcast in the description. We've also, another podcast is the WTF Mark Maron interview episode with Amy Sherman Palladino. Totally required reading for any Maisel head. She has so much cool stuff to say, so much about, what goes into the show and the making of it and everything. She just talks about her family, her dad, her inspiration for starting writing the show. It's amazing. It's great.
It was so interesting. I knew her dad was a stand-up comedian, but the depth and detail that she went into and kind of more behind the scenes what fed into, you know, the whole Johnny Carson thing and wanting Midge's stand-up to be real and authentic, I was just like, man, they put so much work into this show, and the details that she pays attention to, that's why it's so good, because they really give a shit about that stuff. Yep. And it helps.
Yes,
it's incredible. Yep. And there's another podcast called, and I'm shocked that I hadn't found it until just now. It's called Actors with Issues. It's an they have an episode interviewing Alfie Fuller, Caroline Aaron, and Kevin Pollak. It's a great podcast. That's fun. And I just loved listening to those interviews. Alfie Fuller is so cute, and we're trying to get an interview with her. Hopefully we can reach out to her people. We're going to reach out to Caroline Aaron. We're going to reach out to Kevin Pollak. We're trying to get more interviews all the time for Mrs. Maisel. And I think that they were all really busy right after the show. Like during the show, we didn't want to interview anybody because we wanted them to be able to speak freely about their experience without having to worry about spoilers. And then right after the show ended, I think they were all really busy with like press tours and stuff. So now we're starting to get some more responses and everything, and we have more time to reach out to these people. So I've got a definite feeling that we'll have more interviews for you guys to come. And, you know, we're going to continue the Mrs. Maisel podcast. We're going to do the rewatch. We're not sure when we're going to be able to start it, but it is happening. We're going to do it. So even during all that, we'll hopefully have more Maisel cast members to interview. So yeah. There's also another really great interview with Tony Shalhoub. It's an NPR interview, and you can read it or listen to it. And they talk to Tony about his whole acting career. That he talks a lot about Monk and like his theater work. Yeah, the plays he's done, some of the new stuff he's working on, and he talks about his time on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So that's an excellent. I listened to it, and it's excellent.
I need to add that to my list.
Yeah, it's really good. And then there is something, I want to play a little clip from this Alex Borstein interview. It's on the terrifying act of exploring Susie's vulnerability in the final season. So I'm going to play this video for you guys.
And because Susie's so guarded, did you ever kind of create your own backstory like this? Were you thinking of those things as you went on the journey with her, or not so much?
You know, I always decided, people would always ask about Susie's sexuality and Susie's history that way. And my backstory, you know, I never want to know too much. I think knowing too much, knowing what Amy has in mind, alters the way you're playing the present. Had I known about Hetty, I would have played her as though she was hiding something always and keeping something in there. And I prefer having played her as though she was able to 100% compartmentalize whatever that was, because I didn't know about it, and move on and move forward. And for me, that was the right way to play it. And I think I always said Susie never had the luxury of I don't know, pitying herself. She didn't have the luxury of sitting around and pining and wanting. And it was, how am I going to eat? How am I going to pay my rent? Very practical things. And she romanticized success. That became her lover. That became what she wanted to spend the rest of her life with, was accomplishment and success. Not necessarily money, but significance, as she says in the pilot. I don't mind being alone, but I do not want to be insignificant. And that, I think, was the accomplishments of her career, was the only lover she really was seeking.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to play a little bit from this interview, because I found that so interesting that I can't remember if I had read it somewhere before, but for some reason I had felt it in the back of my mind. Like Alex Borstein didn't know that that Hetty was coming up. Like she didn't know at the beginning of the season, because the scripts come like, they get them so last minute that she wasn't able to play all of the stuff leading up to Hetty. Like basically right up until the episode before Hetty was even introduced to us, Alex Borstein herself didn't know about it. She didn't know that was coming. And she's, you know, I think it's so interesting that she says she's grateful and glad that she didn't know that Hetty was going to be a huge part of her character, because she was able to play it the way that she talks about what she just said. if she had known, it might have gotten in the way of her acting, and then she would have been playing these layers of, I'm trying to hide something, I'm trying to keep something secret, and that's, in hindsight, not the way that she saw Susie, that she would have wanted to play Susie. She would have wanted to play Susie as a great compartmentalizer and someone who could put that aside and not pity herself and not worry about, unrequited blah blah, I thought that was super
and
interesting.
I think I don't know if it was an interview with her or with Rachel, but I think it was with Alex Borstein, where she talked about the fact that opening scene when she overhears Hetty when she's by the elevator and kind of follows her, Rachel called it. She was just like, oh, I bet it's, like you dated her or something like that. And Alex was like, no, like that's not what it is. And I thought that was so funny that even then she still didn't know. And it works because I think it made her play it as such a surprise. Right. And it was so much more genuine. And I also love that she said that her success and accomplishments were the only lover Susie really needed, because that is how I take the ending, where you see her and Midge watching Jeopardy together, like making each other laugh. I don't see them as lonely at all. They are both content in their success. We know that's what they both wanted, that ambition. And I freaking love that. They have each other and that shared ambition. But I love the way she put that. I wouldn't have thought to phrase it like that.
Yeah, there's some listener feedback we have talking about exactly that. So put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. Yeah, okay. I'm excited. Okay, there's one more little part of the interview that I wanted to play. So
I would also say, one of the through lines of the whole series is watching these like little backstage moments that Midge and Susie have. And you end the series before the aged up ending, before her final performance, that 4 minutes moment where you tell her tits up for the last time at Gordon Ford. What was it like shooting that, knowing that was the last time you're going to say that to her?
Yeah, that was torture. Amy wisely saved those scenes for the very last few days. She knew it was ensemble. We'd all be together. And she knew it was going to have the feeling of completion. She knew that it was going to be like kind of that final stitch, of hearing that for the last time, tits up, and hearing him announce, and name her as the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And it was rough. It was very hard. We cried during rehearsal. It was very hard to get through. I was the one who got choked up first, which was funny. But yeah, when Susie says tits up to her there, it's, she is choking. She is choking on the words. The way she got them out is the way she was able to get them out. And that's all she could do. And when she is finally, crowned the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, like my hand hit my heart and it was just what happened. It's just it felt like my heart was breaking and my heart was filling at the same moment. I knew a piece of Susie knew she's losing her. She's no longer just hers, and she's got to share her with the world now. And this is going to be different.
Man, God, it's like I could guess that was what was going on, with Alex Borstein. But like we all said, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like this was, and it was fine. It wasn't like a bad thing about the finale at all. The fact that in that scene, that scene on Gordon Ford, it was like there were no actors that day. There were just people grieving and celebrating all kinds of things. All the things, all at once. Yeah, it was a lot.
Every time we talk again, I want to go back and watch the finale. Like,
I know.
Every single time.
Right? I know.
Same.
Because that hand to her heart moment was, I think I started crying harder during that point. And to know that it was just her genuine reaction makes it so much more powerful.
Yep.
Very much.
Boy.
Yep. Yeah, you guys gotta watch this interview. It's delightful.
Awesome.
So yes, all of the links, of course, as always, that we talk about, all the articles, all the videos, everything will be linked in the show notes. So let's get started. Let's warm things up with some Apple Podcast reviews because we got a bunch of them, and they're pretty good. They're pretty awesome, guys. I think we're doing all right.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, Kara, you want to take that first one?
Sure. So, Nuclear Winter. That's a fun username. I kind of like that.
Winter with an R-E, which I really enjoy.
I wonder if that's their last name. Anyway, they said enjoyable but meant for before the show ended, which is true because we were an after show podcast. Said, I really enjoy listening to each host bring their own expertise to the discussion, but because each episode was recorded as each new episode of the show was released weekly, they spent a lot of time making predictions and discussing hot takes that were almost immediately disproven, which is not great for posterity. I will say, Nuclear Winter, you may then enjoy our rewatch podcast because as opposed to an after show podcast where we are reacting and making predictions and things like that, our rewatch will be much more focused and tailored now that we know how the show ended. So I hope you'll come back.
No need for predictions at this point.
I will say, I still think it's true that Hetty's favor or whatever for Gordon was going behind Midge's back and sabotaging Jack Parr. But so I don't know if that was disproven.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
You think Hetty's favor was going
sabotaging, going behind Midge's back essentially, and Gordon going behind Midge's back to sabotage Jack Parr. I still think that could be true.
There were some loose ends that they did not tie up, but they're forgivable because we got such a great finale.
And we did find out a lot of our predictions were true in interviews with the actors afterwards.
That is true.
And Amy Sherman Palladino. So I felt a little bit better.
Yeah.
I will say.
Hold on, guys. My ice maker is making noise. 1 second.
I just want to dive in your ice maker right now, Jade.
Do you need like a big ice water?
I have a giant cup of water that is pretty much all ice. So at least there's that. It balances out the red wine.
Oh my god! And you're drinking red wine. So
oh my god! No, you're really toasty.
She's complaining that it's hot, and like meanwhile guzzles red wine. Like the thing is basically like drinking a candle.
I ran out of rosé.
Yeah, any wine makes me so flushed. I'm just not a wine drinker. Anyway, so I will say.
Yeah, now people can see it.
Yeah, that's right. She's got the rosy cheeks.
The rosé cheeks.
There you go.
If you're listening to this, I apologize because I'm probably going to do a lot less cutting because we're having fun on this video right now. So like I'm leaving all this stuff in. So if you're just listening to this podcast, like, come on over to Patreon.
Just imagine you could see Kara all rosy right now.
You can see her all rosy. And in between, she's got a great background now. She's sitting in between two giant boxes of purse sets of feminine napkins.
I do love this background.
And Erica is on a bed surrounded by a bunch of yellow teddy bears in a fabulous red beret, complete with a hot red lip. She's looking fierce.
It's true.
And then you could see how fierce and beautiful Jade looks right now.
Doing this.
Yes.
Well, thank you, my darling.
I don't know if you can hear that, listeners, but that's the wine being poured into my tits up cup.
Now these are the type of predictions we can continue, is what's going to happen when Kara runs out of her rosé.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to what I was going to say before I turn off my ice maker. This whole this whole like what was the favor that Hetty owed to Gordon. I'll talk a little bit. We've if you listen to our episode on the finale, I think probably what we all thought of it. But I forgot, Kara, that was your take on it. But our listeners have said some other stuff about that, so I want to touch on that a little bit more. So I'm going to put a pin in that one as well. So let's go to the next review. Okay. Erica, you want to take that one?
Sure. It is a 5-star review from Biking is Dangerous. You're right. Biking is dangerous. Be safe out there, everybody. And Biking is Dangerous says, love it. Thank you so much for doing what you do. You ladies often say what I'm thinking. All I can say is 5 stars is not enough. Oh my gosh,
Aw.
thank you.
That's nice.
Thank you.
I watch every episode several times, yet you and your listeners often lead me to grab the remote and dive back in to see what you saw that I may have missed.
You're not alone there.
Yeah, very true. I really enjoy your banter, and I get the feeling you 3 are in sync as Midge and Susie, and you let us listeners in as well. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, biking is
very
dangerous. You just touched my heart on such a deep level because everything you're outlining, like we always say, it's crazy that we like read each other's minds. We like will finish each other's sentences. It's bizarre. I cut it out a lot of the time on the podcast when I say, "Oh my God, you're reading my mind. You're reading my notes," because it gets like annoying. I say it so much. I'm like, God, I got to stop saying that. But it never ceases to amaze me.
It's true. It really is.
It's like you know that that's what you have with your friends is magical when shit like that happens. You know, I love that you guys are in my brain. I find it terribly convenient. Please,
It is
stay
convenient.
Yeah, stay in my brain. You're the open. The door is always open to my brain. Enter with caution, but you know.
Oh, gosh. I love this next one's username too. I just like all of these today.
Okay, you read it.
Okay. Next one is from Vampy Nurse. It's
Vampy
a 5-star review that says, "Love it all." She said, "Don't change a thing. I love the length of the podcast. Thank you. And you talking over each other."
I love that.
I'm going to just start talking over you right now, Kara.
I know.
Blah, blah, blah.
Erica, you're always. This is our standing rule that Kara and I always should err on the side of shutting the fuck up, and Erica is always allowed to interrupt.
Oh,
Always.
it's okay. I'm just chilling.
She said, "It is like being part of friends around a table loving what you love." That makes me so happy.
And that's it. You're nailing it, you guys. I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying exactly what we're setting out to do as podcasters. Just a couple of bitches sitting around drinking wine out of a tits up mug, you know.
It's true.
It is.
Just a Monday evening.
It is Monday.
Oh, Monday.
Oh Lord, right? All
That's
right.
why I poured more wine.
Because it's Monday. Truly. All right, I'll read the last one. It is another 5-star review. It says, "A great podcast for a great show," from Mick D. Maria. "Love the takes, insights, and rapport, and laughs. If you love The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, you'll love this." Why,
Oh,
thank you.
that was fabulous.
Thank
Very
you, Mick.
sweet.
Short, sweet, to the point. Love it all. Oh my gosh, so much love. Oh, we have another one. We have one more.
Yay!
Hopefully it's a nice one.
Oh, it is. It's another 5-star.
Oh, yeah. From Trish the Trash Lady.
Nice.
That's a
Oh
great
my
name.
gosh.
If you can see it, you go ahead and read it, Erica. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. It's a marvelous 5-star review from Trish the Trash Lady.
Trish the Trash Lady. You get the gold
it.
star. For
Yes.
the best username I've ever seen in my life. Like, you get
I
all of the
I
stars
need to know
for
the
that.
backstory of that name is great. All right.
That's so great.
It's so good. Love the banter and insight and the listener feedback. Found you after the last episode. Have gone back to listen to the episodes in this season and enhanced my understanding of the series. Thank you. Heart.
Nice.
Well, thank you, Trish.
Trish the Trash
Love
Lady.
it. Love it.
Welcome. It's okay that you're a little late to the party, you know, as long as you found us, and that's all that matters, babe. So
Yes.
welcome. I'm so excited to have you, and I hope that you continue to leave more listener feedback, and I hope you're a fan of Only Murders in the Building.
Yes.
And seriously, listeners, if you if you're like thinking to yourself, "Oh, I've never watched Only Murders in the Building," and like
It's
probably not gonna do that or whatever. Seriously, if you like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I don't know one single person who enjoys The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel who doesn't love Only
like
Murders in the Building. Like,
Yes.
it's just the natural progression. You need there's a hole in our lives.
Steve
there's
Martin
an empty.
and Martin Short. You cannot go wrong with Steve Martin and Martin Short.
I mean,
Nope.
you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And
for young people, Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez, fucking delightful. So delightful. Such a lovely balance energy-wise to those two.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like they're a beautiful trio. It's beautiful.
It is.
Well, and they have a really interesting friendship, I will say, off of the show as well. And it's just like Maisel, where that comes through on the show.
Comes through.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah, we have a knack for picking these shows, I think, based on how just the love that clearly goes into making them. It just oozes off the screen with Maisel and with Only Murders. It's just, you can just tell how much these people love each other, how much they're like a family.
It's so happy.
It's not like your average TV show, you know. It's different. I remember when I'll probably say this again when we start podcasting on Only Murders, but I remember the day I found Only Murders in the Building. I had just listened to an Agatha Christie audiobook, and I think it was it definitely was the last audiobook in my Christie, like, I've listened to all Agatha Christie multiple times, and I was like listening to the last one so slowly because I knew it was the last one before I had listened to them all, and then everything was going to be a re-listen. And I was like savoring the newness of like this last book that I hadn't read yet. And when it was over, I felt so sad that like my Agatha Christie is just all used up, you know? And I was like, I need a mystery. I need a new mystery thing like in my life. And I was looking at other audiobooks and I'm like, maybe I'll watch something. And I was like, shit, okay, I've really exhausted mystery movies and shows. Like I've watched all those 10 times over already, you know, like there's nothing new as far as a show or a movie for murder mysteries for me. And then I found Only Murders in the Building and I'm like, what is this? What? And my Hulu subscription was about to run out, and I was like, okay, fine, fuck it. I'm just gonna, renew my membership for one more month and try it out. And I remember pressing play and just the delight that came over me. And I remember where I was sitting, and I remember saying out loud, "It's like they made a show for me, like tailored to Jade." You got murder mystery, you got theatricality, you got like just comedic genius, like legends.
Yes.
All right, I'll shut up now. It's good.
It's so good.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to nerd out over that show too.
Yeah. All right. So now let's get into our email feedback, and who better to start it off with than our fourth co-host, Melanie Brown.
Hi, Melanie.
Oh yes, Melanie. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna play her voice message. One moment.
Hey guys, it's me, Melanie. You would think after a 7.5 minute voicemail, I would be done talking about the show, or at least wouldn't have anything else to say for this part of the podcast, but here we are. I just wanted to say, because you guys had mentioned, that Nina Arianda was such a beautiful actress, and I have to agree, she's absolutely stunning, and my critique on Hetty has nothing to do with her, and I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you for making that clear.
Maybe I was a little harsh on Hetty, and when I was listening back, I thought, perhaps
you
I was. But ultimately, I think I got emotional because she hurt Susie. But
Melanie, I love you.
And don't hurt my Susie. But ultimately, in the end of
I agree.
The end of the day, it was the time, and I guess it's a wonderful. I guess it's a good thing that now, you can be openly gay, at least in a lot of places. You can be openly gay, and there's still some places where you can't, and that's a sad state of affairs that we're going to get into, and I'm not going to, but I do just want to say happy Pride Month, everybody. And always be yourself and love who you want to love, and I'm glad that we're in a place in our society where, at least amongst decent people, you can love who you want. And
Melanie,
there you go.
You're such a gem.
I don't want to get too on a soapbox, but there you go. But none of my critique on Hetty has anything to do with Nina Arianda, and I think she's gorgeous.
Okay,
so.
all right. Thank you for qualifying your feedback.
There you go. I am going to New York City in a couple weeks. I'm really, really excited to go hit up, everything a little bit, get some of that, some of the scenery from Mrs. Maisel looked at. I'm really, really excited. We haven't been in years. I haven't been since I was a child, so I'm really, really excited Michael's never been at all. And we're actually going to see our daughter perform in New York with her choir. So I'm really
That's exciting.
Over the moon about that. And I just wanted to, thank you guys again. This, this
Melanie.
cool show, really, and the impact that this show has
It's a cool show.
on
It is a
my
cool
life
show.
and on
Pretty cool.
on everything. Just I couldn't really verbalize it, or I couldn't even pinpoint what effect this had, why this show was so special. But then I remember that, Michael reminded me that the first time I decided to, I had done theater when I was younger, and I had always enjoyed doing shows, and and then I became a mom, and now my daughter's a bit older. She's in high school now, but I hadn't done shows in so long, but I missed it very much. And it was after I started watching this show that I started re-auditioning for some plays around town.
I love
not
that.
going to be an actress or
I want to do that
as
too.
a career or anything, but it definitely has given me a love, and I think a lot of that has to do with Maisel. Realizing that you're good at something, or that you're still good at something in my case, and just doing something you love, and
Me too.
never
You got that passion.
and believing that you always have time for a second act, no matter where your life is. And I think that that is ultimately why
Yes.
Maisel holds such a place in my heart. And I know that it holds that place in a lot of people's hearts. But so I will talk to you guys again, I'm sure. But have a great day. Bye-bye.
Melanie!
Love that,
oh
Melanie.
My gosh. I'm having like a hand to heart Susie moment. You are such a darling. Erica, I want to know what you have to say about that too, because I know that you are a performer, not you're a passion performer. You don't do it
Right.
You're not hustling in the same way that I am.
I don't do it as a career. I shouldn't do it as a career. I do it for the love of performing in theater.
I think you should be paid for your talents, my dear.
It's okay.
Yeah,
No.
listeners, those of you who don't know, Erica performs. Well, tell the people about it, Erica.
Yeah, but in my other job, I do something called the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, she does.
And
So
I've been
cool.
and I've been doing it for like 26, 27 years. So
you got to put up some of those pictures.
Yeah.
Your awesome pictures.
Yeah.
She has some hot photos that we're going to put on Instagram.
Yeah. But I keep this kind of, that's like a separate life, but it allows me to still perform, even though I am a mom. I have a day job, but it's wonderful. It's allowed me to meet so many cool people, and I do it along with my husband and some of my bestest friends. It's a lot of fun. But Melanie brought it up. I used to do community theater as well. And we kind of retired from it when we found out we were pregnant with our son, which was in 2008. We auditioned and got cast into the Beauty and the Beast in the Beauty and the Beast, and we decided maybe we shouldn't do it right now, which is sad because I really would have wished to been in that. But then we did.
It's a fun show.
It is. I wish we'll do it sometime. But we did Cabaret again. Gosh, maybe about
listeners,
5
you know how
years
much we
ago.
love Cabaret.
And we were able to do that because we did it before, and I'm like, I know this show backwards and forwards, and I was a Kit Kat girl again, so it was great. So, Melanie, I understand. And never give that up. And even if you have you just kind of immerse yourself in it, and somehow it makes you feel good. Makes you feel good. I love you. I totally relate, Melanie.
Yeah. And I will say, Melanie, we follow each other on Instagram. She follows our Perfectly Marvelous cast, and she has been sharing photos from New York, and they were so much fun to look at. It made me want to go back. I was just like, damn, I haven't been there in well over 10 years now at this point.
New York.
So,
guys, come to New York. Seriously,
I got engaged in New York. I love New York.
Right. That's right.
It's neat.
New York is magical. It really is.
It is.
Yeah, I was so bummed that I wasn't able to like meet up with Melanie or anything. I was having the most busy because like once Maisel season ended, I think we all were just like, okay, now we have so much stuff to do because we've all been putting, our work stuff like has been a little, not maybe the main focus, which is as it should be. Like fuck work, let's focus on Maisel. Priorities, man. We got some priorities that are absolutely in the right place. But as soon as that ended, I think we all needed to like take some time to like work on our lives and do some, fix some things that have been just a little fallen by the wayside. So yeah, I was so booked. I was, but listeners, if you're ever in New York, please let us know. Let me know. There's a very high likelihood that I'll be able to meet up for a coffee and some sightseeing or whatever. I love to do that. I love meeting people that come to my city because it's truly the greatest city in the world, in my humble opinion. So yes, all right. Let's get to our next piece of listener feedback. Melanie, once again, we love you, babe.
Yeah.
Please never
Love
stop
you,
doing you. Never stop leaving us your voice messages. So delightful. All right. Now we have our first email from Barbara Prisco. She says, I join you in your intense hatred of Gordon Ford. Why, thank you, Barbara. But I don't think his scenes in the finale are badly written at all. We're seeing the true Gordon Ford. I don't think the writing is bad at all. Susie's assessment of him to Joel was 500% dead on. Well, yes. He is behaving like the threatened and threatening little baby asshole that he is. He was never charming, not true charm. He has the charm of a manipulator. Our initial introduction to him is that he's an asshole who is banned from Toots Shores because he's constantly getting into fistfights. He is dismissive, abusive, and arrogant towards his staff at all times.
Yeah.
Women to him are nothing but a prop. He hired Midge because he thought he would get into her pants. Yes. And ultimately, she stuck around thanks to her huge talent and camaraderie with the others. I fully believed every single ugly and
Schizo,
right, thing he did in this finale. And my blood was boiling when he turned out to be the one to dub her marvelous.
Yeah.
Thank you. My blood pressure got high. Yep. If Reed Scott appeared awkward saying these lines, which I didn't pick up on myself, I actually, because I remember that's what I said in our finale coverage. If Reed Scott appeared awkward saying these lines, which I didn't pick up on myself, I think it was very real because in real life, someone as vile and pernicious as Gordon Ford can't possibly maintain any kind of suaveness when they are being backed against a wall. Yeah. It's going to be awkward and uncomfortable. Indeed. Anyway, fuck Gordon Ford. Yes. He's the only thing I will not miss about the show. Love your podcast so much. Tits up. Oh my God,
hot
Barbara.
takes from Barbara. Woo!
Hot takes from Barbara.
For sure.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
And she wrote a second email. She said, oh my God, I totally forgot this bit. Gordon Ford absolutely killed Midge's chances with Jack Parr. I firmly believe he reached out to Jack Parr and either called in a favor or made a threat of some sort to guarantee that she would not get a break from that showcase.
Yep.
This may not have been clear in the previous episode, but in the finale when he brings the subject up to Midge, in my opinion, he totally outs himself. So his hackles? Hackles? What is hackles?
Like when your cat, when they arch their back and everything goes up.
They hackle.
Like their hackles go up.
Their hackles go up. Oh my.
Now everybody gets to see us all going.
Rare.
If you're listening to this, you just totally. Oh my God. There's my title. If you're listening to this, I guarantee you just totally arched your back and tried to do. Oh, okay. Now I have a new word for my vocab.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, as a human cat, this is very useful to me because I often hackle. So she says, so his hackles have been up against Midge going into his request from Hetty to put Midge on the show. Ugh, I hate that asshole. Ha ha ha. Love Barbara. Barbara, thank you. This is fabulous.
That was great.
I like the idea of Gordon Ford like a cat, like all the hairs standing up in anger.
His hackles.
He wish he was a cat.
Fun.
Sounds
Yeah,
cool.
he's definitely not a cat.
No,
What kind of
definitely
animal
not a
would he
cat.
be? I mean, I guess
would
you
be
could say
like-
snake.
Yeah.
He'd be like a Yeah, like a snaky,
Sneaky snake.
Yeah.
a real ugly one, like a venomy one, not like the cute kind, not like
No,
there are cute
no.
snakes.
He's not a
There are
snake.
cute snakes.
There are
A
cute
snake.
snakes.
a snake. Yeah, so
no.
so I think the wines are kicking in. So no, I think
I
though
have
that
no
this
excuse.
I think that this whole Gordon Ford thing is meant to be ambiguous. I know that there's more feedback about it, about Gordon Ford. I think, I don't know if, I would love to ask Amy Sherman Palladino if she even knows. I just feel like it's one of those things that she wrote ambiguous. And I kind of love/hate that she does this, because oftentimes I think that she writes things in like there's going to be a hidden meaning to it, and something that, oh, this is going to get revealed later. And then it's never talked about again. It's kind of like a loose thread.
Yeah.
And I think that it's because, I don't know if it's just because she's got a lot of, Amy Sherman Palladino has a lot of balls to juggle in the air, so like things kind of get forgotten about, and like not everything can get addressed and tied up and have a full circle ending. But so it's either that she just kind of like forgets, or it's that she knows she's not going to tie it up and she just puts it in there to get people thinking. And it's like, yeah, it could be that. Yeah, it could be that too. It could be that as well. I don't know, though. I don't know if Gordon Ford is that clever. And I just, maybe it's just because I love Nina Arianda that I don't want to believe that Hetty would be so
Part of that.
Yeah, part of that she would like actively. I feel like if it was Hetty, then there's listener feedback about Hetty and maybe her involvement with this whole Midge Jack Parr sabotage. But I feel like if it was Hetty, then we would have been shown
Excuse me.
the whole, when we get to the whole, what is I owe you? The whole like you owe me one thing that Hetty says to Gordon. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how much credit I want to give Gordon Ford.
So pointed when he's. I don't know.
I know.
Maybe
that's why I think Gordon Ford, the writing was not outstanding for him, because there are still a lot of questions about his motivations, and we know from, just years of listening to Amy Sherman Palladino talk and then talking to Austin on the podcast, just how much control and direction that they give. I don't know.
Well, they have been releasing on like the Instagram, like the story arcs. So they just did one for Rose that I loved it. Maybe they'll do one for Gordon. It might be interesting to see all of his scenes kind of together, because I kind of think about the first introduction to him with Midge after her set at the Walford, and then kind of like, thinking about when they went to the little diner and all that. Like, I still remember those things, and I remember that's when Kara still found him charming, and then all of that kind of like that downfall after that. So it would be interesting to see everything kind of together, to see
that's what's so
if it reads well or if it reads the same.
With Reed Scott, like, I find him charming as a person, and he is seemingly a very nice guy. So I don't know how much of that was him coming through, but I had such a visceral reaction to that switch that flipped with Gordon's character, where it was just like immediately no, and he was immediately no longer attractive. And it was that's what feels like whiplash to me.
And it was right. Was it when she told him she was going on Jack Parr? Is that when it swithed? I think
pretty much, where it was just like
when George was gone.
Yeah, and when George was gone, I think kind of around that time, because even the Pirate Queen, he was still kind of, he laughed about the situation. They were still chummy. Yeah.
The Pirate Queen, I think he was shown in the best light, because if I remember the way he handled hearing what Midge had done on that boat, and he was just like,
I thought it was hilarious.
I'll get behind that. Don't even try to edit that out of the news. Like, let people know I got a pirate on my team. I mean, totally. I'm sure for selfish reasons that he's never being generous because he's enjoying other people or like wanting to help other people. It's always all about him. But I did think that he came off as quite funny in that episode. But I remember the time when I was just like, nope, so much nope was that moment that she said she was going to do Jack Parr. and she's like, want to get in on this first? And he just was
He was like, nope.
a baby man.
Baby man.
Oh, yeah.
There's one thing I can't tell her. I cannot abide. It's an overgrown man child. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Please.
So
please
true.
Exit
Those
the
are no fun.
premises. No
For
fun.
anyone.
Yeah. So much. Yeah. There's so much Gordon speculation, which is just anger making for me because I think that it's a little cheap, it's a little weak sauce, that writing. It's just a little, okay. I'll just say one more time, for the amount that he was built up, for the amount that the relationship to Midge was built up and his attraction to her, for it all to just be no answers. Like it feels a little insulting. Just a little bit. As someone who podcasts and to my listeners who took so much time to be like, this is what I think it is. And I remember just hours of our time were spent on those podcasts talking about, where is this going to go? His connection with Midge. Are they going to sleep together? Is it going to be another Lenny? Is she going to be closer to him than Joel? Are they going to fall in love? What's going on?
They went to her and Joel's diner. Like, it was not a small thing.
No, they were really putting him in front of our, like, I keep saying it, for someone who got so much screen time, for it to just all fall to nothing.
It just falls to her sabotaging the show. Well, not even really sabotaging. He was sabotaging it. But just for her to get her first, big shot on TV it just happened to be on his show.
Yeah.
He didn't give her her big break at all. She took it.
She took it.
She took her break.
She took it. And he didn't even, people who are always like giving him credit for hiring her, I'm like, no. Susie made that happen. That's all the credit to Susie. He so reluctantly was like, yeah, okay, I'll give her a try.
It was just convenient. It was a convenient time.
And it was only...
had been recommending to him that they needed a lady writer.
Right. There's credit to Hetty. There's credit to Susie. There's credit to Midge's tits because she's hot. There's no credit to Gordon Ford, except for the fact that he has eyes like a man.
Yeah.
Stereotypical straight cis men eyes.
And he did think she was funny.
Gross.
He did bring that up at the very beginning when Susie approached him.
Yeah.
But it was reluctant.
Yeah.
Oh, Gordon.
Mistakes were made with Gordon Ford. Mistakes were made. Yeah. But I digress. Let us digress from Gordon Ford. I'm glad we got that one out of our systems at the top there. I know there's going to be a little more listener feedback about Hetty stuff, but that comes a little later. So we'll circle back around to the Hetty of it all. So our next one is from Lois Farber, and she says, "Hi, I'm enjoying your perfectly marvelous podcast. Just FYI, Dick Gregory was a groundbreaking Black comedian and a prominent civil rights activist." And she linked his biography on thehistorymakers.org.
Nice.
And she said, "Keep up with the good work. Cheers, Lois." And there is a great, there's a great clip of Dick Gregory where he talks about the difference between humor and comedy that I just wanted to play a tiny little bit of because Dick Gregory, I feel like you don't get enough airtime, dude. Like let's give the master a little bit of our attention.
I will say,
all right.
we skipped Tammy.
Oh, right. Shit.
Who also mentions Dick Gregory.
Yes. Okay. Read that one and then I'll play the clip. Sorry.
Okay. This is Tammy in Texas. Tammy, I hope you are staying cool wherever you are in Texas, unlike me. She said, "Hi, girls. I just started listening to your Part 1 podcast and I'm really enjoying it. I've also been listening to Mark Maron's WTF podcast interview with Amy Sherman Palladino. I highly recommend." Yes, that was definitely a good one. She said, "You may already know this, but her dad was a comic and her early years were heavily influenced by comedy and dance. I heard you talking about the comedian Dick Gregory, but she name dropped Dick Capri, who was a comedian that her dad knew. I'm really looking forward to your Only Murders in the Building podcast, my second favorite show. Love y'all."
Hey, Tammy.
Yes.
Woo, woo.
Yes, Tammy in Texas.
That will be fun.
I know.
Let's hear
All right.
Dick Gregory.
Born and raised in St. Louis, there was no such thing as comedy. Born and raised before there was television. There was only radio. And I thought Bob Hope and Milton Berle was corny. I mean, that was to a different culture pattern. And so I never got. If you was born in New York or Chicago, if you was an adult, you might get to see a Negro comic on the black circuit, but there was no nightclubs in St. Louis except jazz clubs or music clubs or what have you, or blues clubs where people went out to dance. And so humor, and there's a big separation between humor and comedy.
Okay.
Humor is what we all do. Comedy is professional people who get paid, a comedian. The greatest laugh you ever had in your life did not come from professional comedians. It came from friends or relatives. And the difference between humor and comedy is a timing. Just to sit around the table on Thanksgiving as family member and just tell a joke, the timing. My breath don't have to be right. I don't have to, and I can tell the same joke every year on Thanksgiving when I come to dinner, and it's funny. That's humor.
So there's so much there's tons of great videos of Dick Gregory. I'm going to link this one in the show notes, but I seriously, if you guys have any interest in, how the comedic scene really got started, especially for Black comedians, you got to listen to some Dick Gregory. There's an amazing audiobook that I just started listening to about his life. The man has led like such a fascinating life. Like it's the best kind of rabbit hole you can go down is like by learning about this guy. He's just such a total sweetheart. I love Dick Gregory. And we're coming up on like the anniversary of 6 years of his passing, which is crazy, but what a genius, what a guy. So yeah, Dick Gregory.
I just appreciate all the, the amount of work that had to go into bringing in all these people that were trailblazers of comedy that I never heard of.
Right. Me neither.
I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know who Lenny Bruce was before Maisel, and there's been a movie about it, and I love Dustin Hoffman. It's just, I think it's great that they just really brought, to the forefront all these people to this generation so we can learn about them.
True. You just reminded me of something, Erica. I was thinking of, is Suri talking to us?
Somebody's talking to us.
Suri's like, I didn't get that.
Sorry, Siri.
Well, Suri, allow me to reiterate. I had an idea that it might be a fun thing for us to do a Patreon live watch of, like, if we all, the three of us, got on like a watch party and watch Lenny, because I love Dustin Hoffman so much, and I would just love to watch that video with you guys and maybe like pause it at a couple of moments and talk about the contrasting performance with Lenny played by Luke Kirby. I just think that would be so interesting, and I haven't ever watched that Dustin Hoffman film, and I would love to, but I want to watch it with you guys because I'm going to want to say my thoughts out loud.
That would be good. What year did that one come out?
That was older,
70s? Right?
Yeah, I think it was. Okay. I think it was in the 80s.
I feel like I get frustrated like people. I think younger people associate Dustin Hoffman more with like Meet the Fockers.
Really?
And yes.
I'm Tootsie all the way.
Exactly. Tootsie was great.
The Graduate.
Like The Graduate.
Yeah.
Hook.
Yeah.
I love Hook. Like,
yes, I got Hook on the brain right now.
Yeah, it's like, that's that old guy in Meet the Fockers. This was something that
oh my God,
an 18-year-old I was around recently said, and I was just like, no.
Oh my God, that
one
get
of
out of my brain.
Greatest actors of our time.
Yeah, right? Like, yeah, no. Someone once said to me, "How dare you?" I was talking to my sister.
Rain Man. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. I was talking to my sister's friend, and they're not even that much younger than me, just like 2 years younger. And I was talking about Robert De Niro, and she goes, "Oh, the guy from Meet the Fockers," and I was like,
"God,
hand to forehead moment." What a travesty.
Taxi, a number of other things.
Taxi driver, man. Yeah.
Like,
God.
Yeah. No, Lenny was from 1974.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was
we should do that.
Almost 50 years ago. Yeah,
that's the year my dad graduated from high school.
I wasn't born yet.
I hear that year, I'm just like, yep.
74. So yeah, listeners, if that is something that you would be interested in watching or listening to, us watching Lenny and commenting on Dustin Hoffman's what is to be an amazing performance, I'm sure, let us know. Let us know, because we are always looking for, other little things we can do that will just keep the Maisel love going. Definitely. Because we're already missing it. Like the deserts miss the rain. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next bit of feedback. Okay, listeners, we just had to take a break because we had to get some water and we had a contact drying out situation. Kara was so hot. I'm allowing Kara to turn on her air conditioning now. And yeah, Erica and Kara both have their fans going, and yeah, it makes my editing a little bit more difficult, but I don't want my girls to suffer, so turn your air conditionings on. And I was just thinking while we were taking a little break that talking about Hook and everything made me, and Dustin Hoffman made me realize that I wanted to say to the lovely people out there that yes, Jade has finally launched her new podcast. I'm sure that you have seen it. If you're subscribed to this feed, then you've seen it pop up, and I promise I will only release the first episode on this feed. I just wanted to make everyone very much aware that this is where you can subscribe to my new podcast called Shall We Compare Thee? And we just put up our Psycho episode, shamelessly plugging it. It is, I mean, guys, Paul and I have something cool going on. We've got a cool dynamic. It's a totally different dynamic than I have with you guys, but it's different, but like just as awesome. I mean, well, I don't know if it's just as awesome, but I did say to them, I'm like, I did really miss you guys when I podcasted with someone else, though. I was like, miss my girls. But no, Paul is great, and we are just getting into like our groove podcasting with each other now. It's a totally different kind of thing, but it's still me. It's not that different, but we really get into talking about Psycho though in that episode, and we really got into like the psyche of the characters and talking about characters like they're real people. It's like my favorite thing to do, analyzing their behavior like it's a real person, and the conversation got real deep. So if you guys have ever listeners, if you've ever watched Psycho, or if you haven't because you're like, I don't like horror movies, or I don't like black and white movies, or I would seriously, Psycho is so it holds up.
It really
does.
It does.
After doing all of that research on it and watching it over and over and taking notes, the one thing that I really took away from it is like, damn, this is still so relevant. It's so watchable with a modern eye, and the black and white is it's some of the most gorgeous black and white captured on film. So if you're not I can't really get into watching black and white movies, and I guarantee you it almost feels like this film is in color. It's shot so beautifully. The lighting, it's truly every frame is a painting. It's masterful. So if you guys like Psycho, or if you've never watched Psycho before and you want a reason to finally check it off your list, I would say now is the time, because not only did I just, put out a podcast on it, a kick-ass podcast, if I do say so myself. Really, I'm more complimenting Paul than honestly, Paul's great. But so Netflix has it on their streaming service, but so many things, because of the writer's strike, so many things are coming off of streaming right now, and Psycho will only be available on Netflix until July 1st, and then you're going to have to pay for it. So it is fully June 19th. By the way, happy Juneteenth.
Woo!
Happy Pride. Happy Juneteenth. All yes. Yes.
It's a good month.
Perfect moment to talk about Dick Gregory as well, like just right up there with who better to listen to on Juneteenth.
Definitely.
Sure.
But anyway, so yes, so it is June 19th. You don't have long to watch Psycho on Netflix before it goes away, and then you'll have to pay.
Is that the original or the remake, Jade?
The original. The remake, if you don't feel like, because you can't, it's not streaming anywhere, you have to pay for it. If you don't feel like paying for it though, there is an incredible YouTube video that has, it's like the full film, and it keeps cutting back and forth between the 60s, the original, and the remake.
That's
and
very
it gives
cool.
It certainly gives you enough of the remake to watch for just hearing what we have to say about it on our podcast. I do not think it is required that you watch that film. I would not say that anyone, I don't know that it's necessarily
the remake.
Yeah, after watching that remake, you'll just say to yourself, "Wow, that's an hour and a half that I will never get back."
No, there's a part of that remake that bothered me so much, and I'm like, "Why did they do that?" You probably know what part.
There are several.
Yes.
So yeah, okay.
So unnecessary.
I'll stop plugging now, but please, if you guys don't, and also if you're not into Psycho, we don't only review horror films. Our next comparison will be, that was a long way around to get to this point. As I was talking about, yeah, there I am. I found it. Hook. We are talking all things Peter Pan. So we're talking about the original Peter Pan, the 2003 remake, the new 2023 Peter Pan and Wendy, and we're talking about Hook, 1991 as well. And because I'm, an old theater hag, I will be talking about the Mary Martin 1960 made-for-TV movie rendition of Peter Pan. So yes, all of that, the links are in the description of my Shall We Compare the podcast. So check it out. There's something truly for everybody. And then the episode we're doing after Peter Pan, we're going to do Little Shop of Horrors. And if you're here watching Maisel, guaranteed you're going to love Little Shop of Horrors. I'm sure you do.
That's what I can't wait for.
Yes,
yeah, if you don't already love Little Shop of Horrors.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And Little Shop of Horrors, both of the original with Jack Nicholson and the remake musical, both are available on, I believe, Netflix. They're available on like every streaming platform for free. So it's super easy to watch those. And yeah, same thing with Peter Pan. Super easy to watch right now, especially if you have Disney Plus. But yeah, so we got a lot of fun stuff happening there. And we take requests. And Paul and I have said, since we haven't got a request from anybody for 2 films that we could compare, if they're like the first person who sends in a request, like, I want you to do this film, we will just do it, regardless of what it is, because you're the first one to write in and say, this is a podcast that most podcasters require a commission fee to do something like that. But I would just
I already
be so
told
happy.
you what I want you to do. I told you.
Yeah, I was like, can I
show with
text
the
you?
TV remake.
Yes. Well, you don't count, Erica.
I know I don't count, but you should do it because it's.
Or no. It.
Oh, yeah.
It is a very
Maybe
good
after
one.
you've done a couple other non-horrors, it would be an excellent one to do.
That's going on the list. That's going on the list for sure.
It's a good one.
Yes. Yes. And Rocky Horror is already on the list.
Now I want to watch that. Damn. There's not enough time. There's not enough hours.
No. I still haven't seen the second one, and I really want to.
So good. It's so scary.
I'm waiting for my husband to finish listening to the book, and I'm like, I'm not going to wait for you any longer.
Yeah, that'll take a while.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of taking a while.
Yeah, right? Sorry, guys. Shamelessly plugging, but hey, it's my podcast, and I'll plug if I want to. No, it's great. It's going to be a good podcast. So subscribe. Listen to it. Do all the things. Like it. Review it. Love my podcast. Do it. Love it. Already. God. All right. Moving on to our next bit of listener feedback. Erica, why don't you take that one?
I would be happy to. Liz Todd, a.k.a. Elizabeth Ann on Facebook. Hello, magical Erica, magnificent Jade, and marvelous Kara. Thank you for putting us in alphabetical order.
I know.
I'm so excited to have the opportunity to ask Matilda Szydagis a question. In the Weissman household, Zelda was the lone island of common sense. I love to honor her by mentioning a marvelous Zelda moment, and there's way too many. All the Zelda moments are marvelous. I agree. I have so many questions for her, but I'll ask just one. I'm tempted to ask about her wedding episode, but I'm pretty sure other listeners will address that. Please ask her which cast member she most enjoyed visiting the craft table with and why. I know your time is valuable, so you could skip over this part, but I have all the time in the world as I recover from a bicycle accident. Boo!
Oh, no.
Boo! I'm sorry to hear that, Liz. It's terrible.
Hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, please recover soon. Spoiler alert, this is not a question. I have to mention Ethan's fake birthday and Zelda with her camera. That episode, season 4, episode 1 was one of my favorites. The Wonder Wheel family meeting was hysterical, and even so much going on, Zelda and her camera absolutely owned their scenes. I did love that so much. Yeah. Just the thought of a family's housekeeper also being the family's historian was genius. That episode had it all. Abe rushing everyone through, and Charlotte asking all the kids over and over, Joey, is your funnel cake delicious? Ethan, is your funnel cake delicious? And on and on and on. I really want some funnel cake right now, by the way.
That does sound good.
I know, really. That episode is loaded with marvelous moments. It opens with Midge taking that long drag on her smoke and slowly saying, revenge, and then explaining the soul-crushing revenge she craves. That was one of my favorite Midge's stand-ups. Oh my God, so good. Sorry for the rambling. No, you're in good company. My crazy can be explained. I'm on painkillers and boxed wine. Oh, Liz.
She's She typed is
That's funny.
explained.
Explained.
Explained. Oh my goodness. I love
Got some
that.
explaining to do.
Yes.
Funny.
All
Yeah,
right.
cheers, Liz.
Yes. And hope you feel better.
And she wrote a second email, and she said, I know keeping up with the emails, voice messages, social media posts, and more must be exhausting. Your podcast is excellent. Well, thank you. I figure it's impossible for you ladies to read every Facebook post, but you have to see this. The woman posting is commenting on a thread in which the main topic is the poor parenting on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Hope you saw the thread. It's funny because most of the people responding are really upset and worried about fictional Ethan and Esther. And she
They're fine.
They're fine.
They're totally
she put
cool.
up a screenshot, and the person says, if she was married 4 times, she definitely knew the difference between alone and lonely. She has Susie. Neither of them were alone or lonely. They had each other. And then the person, yes, I totally agree. And then Montana Forcier, this is the person she's talking about. She said, they wanted you to see these things and realize what not to focus on in your life if you don't want to end up lonely. And then Elizabeth and Liz, she said, Montana Forcier, seriously? This was not 5 seasons of fantastic television intended to life coach the rest of us. Which is very true. Yeah, I think that
funny.
If we know one thing about Amy Sherman Palladino, like, as I've said, she kind of writes these things that, like, people often, I think it's because of the detailed, like, mysterious television shows that super, like, into the human psyche, and, like, you know, those shows like Dark and
God, I love that show, though.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like mind-bending kind of shows that you really have to think about how these people are thinking.
It's a very different watch, though, from Maisel to something like Dark.
They're both
or like
intelligent. They're both smart.
Lost.
They're just not. They're not trying to get into our heads to tell us that we're fuck ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me.
It's not that Maisel doesn't go super deep. It does. You can read the show on a very deep, emotional, character-driven level. But it's like a lot of the time I find myself saying, when I start to look at the show at a super deep, detailed level, I often go like, it's just Amy Sherman Palladino.
Because she doesn't intend it. Like that Mark Maron podcast that she was on, one of my favorite parts of that was her addressing all of the criticism that the show was receiving about Midge being a terrible mother. And ASP avoids reading, like, she doesn't have social media. She doesn't look at Facebook comments.
Nope.
She doesn't look into that stuff. And so
smart.
Rachel Brosnahan would go to her and be like, oh my God, like, do you see what they're saying? And Amy
she was concerned, Rachel was concerned about everyone is saying that Midge is like a bad mom.
A terrible mom. And ASP was just like, who gives a fuck? Like, that's not what this is for. And I think she was making a point, like, with all of these great comedians and entertainers and, you know, famous people. The point is that they're kind of shitty parents to make the next batch of fabulous comedians and entertainers. And I was like, yeah, that checks out.
Oh, Lord.
Like, Esther was hilarious and intelligent and driven. And I don't think we're supposed to read that much into her parenting. And I do think it's just kind of, you know, people really like to find things to criticize sometimes, especially about women and women who have ambition and choose to, you know, make a career out of it. And even if they're not intending to, I think that projection really comes out. So I thought, I don't know, I might do a deep dive with Midge and all of these old articles I found about her being a terrible mother, because it just seems so nonsensical to me. Like, of course she's not a good mom. She didn't want to be a mom, really. And she's a comedian. Like, she has ambition. Just pay attention to that part of the show.
Yeah, and I'm not at all saying that, like, some of the behavior of Midge as a parent, like, if I were to go through and select little moments, I could be like, yes, if you were to really take this and read it seriously, this is not good parenting. This is terrible. This is, like, they left a baby in the car.
Well, yeah, that too. But, like, where were Ethan and Esther during her big 4 minutes moment? Like, we have no idea where they were, but that's not the point. Like, it's just...
They were with Moish. They were with Moish while he was, you know,
on painkillers. Hopped up
probably
on painkillers.
And probably box wine.
I love it. But
Moish the babysitter.
As someone who has never wanted to be a mom and never wanted kids, that was just not in the cards for me. I think I told my mom when I was 12 that I just didn't see myself having kids. I think it's kind of refreshing sometimes for Amy Sherman Palladino's kind of snarky take on things, because it makes me feel a little bit better. I'm just like, yes, okay. Like,
and you know what? And from the other side, as a parent who wanted to be a mom and is happy to be a mom, but I also enjoy my career, and I also enjoy sometimes dabbling in theater. So I can do both and still be a great mom and utilize my.
But do you sleep, Erica? That's the question.
I know.
Because it's a no. I know it's a no.
I do not. I haven't slept in a very long time.
You know what's funny though is that like I don't either, and Kara, I'm sure none of us fucking sleep. What is that?
No.
And it's because of podcasting as well. But and I don't have kids, so it's like truly I just don't. My hats. All of the hats go off to you mothers.
Seriously.
Like seriously. But Kara,
Absolutely.
and even though you too, because Kara is a serious, you got some babies. They're not human babies.
She's got
you a mama.
Scaly babies.
Fur, scaly babies. Yes.
Furry babies, yeah. Scaly babies.
Yes.
I have 2 fur babies too.
Aw.
Okay, and that's just, see, there she goes again. Showing off, Erica. Yes, I have no pets, but that is just because my own personal grooming is time consuming enough. I am my own pet. I am my own cat.
She's a good auntie, right?
I really am.
That cracks me up. Well, and it's like my best friend is a mom. Her son right now is 4, and she is any minute now about to give birth to her second son. And she's an attorney like me. And all the time, I'm just like, I don't know how you guys do this. Like, I have no idea how you have the energy to get up, go to court, but also take care of all the kid things all at the same time. So I do appreciate that part of Maisel where we see how much time she's away from her kids. That's not a coincidence. And
it's a little bit of realism, and that the grandparents are watching her children, and they're good grandparents,
which is nice.
Yeah.
But I'm
they're
not
okay
bothered.
grandparents. They're not good at they weren't that good at the disciplining and everything, but they love the kids.
They did love their grandchildren.
I did not walk away from this show being like, what about Ethan and Esther? Like, why didn't we see how they turned out?